yeah, I see a beautiful day. It's coming my way. It's a beautiful day.
All right. Welcome to A Beautiful Life. I am your facilitator for tonight, actually, because we are joined with our two co-hosts for the premiere of A Beautiful Life Teen Talk Generation Now. So I tell you, I'm so excited for you all to be able to hear from these two individuals. We are joined with none other than our host for this evening. The premiere is Mr. Leon Luma. Give a shout out for Leon's. What's up, Leon's?
What is up? What is up? What is up? Good evening. It's an honor, it's a blessing to be on this amazing talk show, and I can't wait to discuss some amazing topics with my co-host Esther. I feel amazing. This is dope.
I love it. So, guys, you are truly in for a treat. And I tell you, as we say, these shows are going to be bananas, but guess what? It's also going to be life changing. And so, none other than the other co-host for ABL Teen Talk Generation Now, Miss Esther Dorville. I tell you, Esther, what's up? Welcome.
Not to give in technical difficulties. Hey everybody, it's Esther as mentioned before, and we are ready to get to this show. So I'm happy being here, and yeah.
So why Teen Talk? Why ABL Teen Talk? So I'm glad you asked. And so again, for those who are coming on, make sure that you are sharing. Get all of your young people on because we are about to go higher. And I tell you, it's really an opportunity. I'm very excited about when I see young people who are on fire for God and young people who, have a heart to learn more about God and just to be used by Him. And it's interesting because typically when we talk about teens, we talk about them being the next generation. And I remember just having a moment of really understanding, but when you have young people who are truly doing phenomenal things, truly impacting others and in their community and their family, I think that is cause for celebration. And I think that that's cause for a spotlight to be on what they are currently doing and the impact that they're making. And so this is why we call it Generation Now. And so when you think about the fact that they are impacting right now, not waiting until they become adults, but really understanding what it means to give your life to Christ and how they are navigating and actually allowing that to be the forefront of how they impact others in the world. So I'm going to come to you all individually. I'm going to come to you actually first, Leon, and just in reference to taking on this position of co-hosting. I know you both are in school, and tell them a little bit about, what school you attend, what grade you're in. Why was it important for you to say yes to now being a co-host of a talk show as it relates to teens?
Mm-hmm. Amazing question. Once again, my name is Leon Swimmer. I attend William H. Turner Technical Arts High School. I'm currently a senior. I'm getting ready to head out to college. When I heard about this talk show, when Esther reached out to me and she gave me a whole gist of what it's all about, I instantly was like, wow, this is extremely significant and this is extremely needed, especially in our communities, and so it had me just thinking, like, what exactly could I add into it? I didn't want to just jump on board. I'm like, okay, am I really the right fit? You know what I mean? What exactly have I experienced? What exactly can I give? What exactly can I share? And so as soon as she reached out to me, and then you gave me a phone call afterwards, a little bit afterwards, telling me everything, I was like, this is important because, our voices need to be heard, our perspectives need to be shared. And I felt it to just be best to have someone in our age group be the voice to the voiceless, because oftentimes we don't really get this platform, we don't really get these opportunities to really express and share what we actually go through. They would say, oh, as us growing up, we wouldn't really go through much, so we shouldn't even speak on anything. But that's not true. We go through a whole lot. We have a whole lot of battles in which we don't really speak on. There's a lot of things that us as the youth are struggling with, battling with, that many people don't get to see or hear. But I felt this is very much needed in order to shed light on so many things that have been casted out for such a long time. So yes, I'm going to forever say yes to this because it's important.
And I love that, and I think that that's a great point that you made mention of, because even during this pandemic, a lot of times we've spoken about adults and adults, battling depression, adults battling, the stressors of this new normal that we're under. And a lot of times we have not really focused in on the impact of the pandemic on young people. And Esther was on that show that we did with Mr. Fritz Veltman in reference to what the pandemic's impact has had on you. I think it's very important for us to understand, like in today's time, you all as young people, you're actually dealing with adult-like issues. And so when you're talking about the stress and the pressures, the pressures to perform in high school, to make sure that you're getting accepted to the colleges that you're vying for, that it's very competitive. You have a lot of pressures around you, and what does that mean to navigate through that as a young believer, a young person who is following Christ? And so a part of what I really wanted to do with this show is to really give you all a platform that says, we see you all young people. We see, that this is a harsh world at times. And we see you trying to navigate and trying to make sure that you're still standing for Christ. And so, thank you for your transparency and your interest in really wanting to be a voice for, as you said, the voiceless. And so, Esther, we're going to come to you, share a little bit about you and what school you attend, what grade you're in, and why was it important for you to take on this task?
Hi, everyone. My name is Esther Dervillian, and I currently go to William H. Turner Tech High School. I'm a senior, also known as 12th grade, and I'm ready to graduate. Me and Leonce, we go to the same school. We have a few classes together. And what made me want to be part of the ABL show and be I'm very grateful for this position as being a co-host is from being from the previous show, because I did not know about ABL, and then Mr. Fritz, he told me about this opportunity. He's like, okay, you could be a guest host at the talk show. I was just like, because I want to be like a news reporter and stuff like that. So this, I was like, let's see how this is gonna go. And I have a strong relationship with Christ. So I was like, 2-in-1. Okay, let's see how this goes. So we went on the show last time, and I really enjoyed it. And you gave me the opportunity to be a co-host, and I was like, this is not a offer to miss. So I took it just like that, and I told Leonce about it, because you don't just keep like, I don't know how to explain it, but you don't just keep like something prized to yourself. You want to give it out into the world, not that opportunity. I found the word. You don't just want to keep the opportunity to yourself. You want to spread it around for other people to have opportunities. But yeah.
And I love that. I love that. I think that speaks really to the good news of the gospel. Like, it's so good that you don't just want to keep it to yourself. And it just speaks to, just the heart behind both of you, just really wanting to be a voice, really wanting to be that standout for your generation. And so, Leon, I want to come to you, because a lot of times the pressure as a young man, a young African-American male who has given your life to Christ, there is this image sometimes as it relates to you all, where it's not so much that it's put in the forefront of a young man loving the Lord already, in high school and going hard for him. Talk a little bit about that decision that you made and when you came into the knowledge of Christ.
Amen. I love it. So I would say growing up, I've always had a relationship with God, with Christ. However, it was in a place, and I feel like we all as believers had our lukewarm stage, and I feel like growing up, that's what I went through. Like, first, my idea of who God may be to actually who He actually is in my life, from the age of 9 years old, going on to 10, and so on and so forth. Um, my relationship didn't really grow or in some way alter until quarantine, believe it or not, because that gave me that isolation that I needed. they shut everything down. Distractions are gone. Individuals who probably would conduct peer pressure are out the way. So it's like literally in my place, home, literally home 24/7. And the only thing that I had was the voice of God. So it's like, yo, in this moment, all I can do is just grow within you. And I could grow at a level and not be pulled back, because those people who probably have like who be those voices and put me in a place where I'm like, okay, maybe I'm doing too much. Believe it or not, I was told that I'm being too much of a believer at one point, based on the relationship and connection that I had. So, it was a whole entire roller coaster up until recently. I mean, even now, I still have my challenges, I still have my struggles, but it's easier now knowing that I'm not doing it alone, knowing that I have Christ there with me. You feel me? He promises to never leave nor forsake. So that brings me comfort in moments of my trials and tribulations, in moments of my, downfalls. So, I feel it extremely, it's difficult, believe it or not. And it's extremely rare to see young men like myself in this place, you know, and it's really difficult being in the school, believing what I believe, and seeing other people who may have the awareness of that, but no, they're doing things that contradict my beliefs. And at the end of the day, it's all about staying true to yourself. I respect all those who is either finding their way with Christ or may not even be there yet. And I'm like, okay, I could be that light. I could be the light showing them the direction. I could be the light paving the way. So that gives, believe it or not, that gives me the hunger and the drive to continue doing what I'm doing. Because I know that eventually individuals will be like, okay, but I've been doing this whole thing wrong, and he's been there this entire time. So let me head towards him, because and as they begin to follow myself, they'll begin to follow Christ. Because it's not about me, but it's all about being that representation in the proper way. And many people may be like, no, it'll be easier to have a whole bunch of people around me who's in Christ, then that will further push me. But if I'm that one person who's just staying rooted, then I'm pretty sure that one person, me being that one person, would turn into several, and then it'll be a whole entire domino effect. So I think that's really important.
That is so impressive. Like, just to hear you all, that's why I said you all are going to be for a treat with these two. To hear them talk, to hear them speak, like the level of commitment that they already are showing, the level of devotion and earnest seeking after God is really a beautiful thing. I think it's so important to be able to highlight this, because a lot of times what we see in the media, what we see on social media, what we see in the news is a lot of times young people who have not actually gotten a chance to have that intimate personal relationship with the Lord. And so, you talked about that lukewarmness and just coming into the fold, coming into the newness of who he is, but trying to understand and navigate from, what I wanted to what he wants for me. And so a part of this show is for those young people. We want you to be, again, to look at this show and be empowered and encouraged, because it really speaks to the fact that believers are going to go through very similar things as unbelievers, right? Believers are going to fail classes. Believers are going to have negative peer pressure. Believers are going to battle with their flesh. But it is the Holy Spirit that he endows us with and empowers us to be able to make a decision that gives him glory and is pleasing to him. And so I want to come to you, Esther, because, we're in a generation, just culturally, where we're literally seeing the word being lived out. We're literally seeing scriptures just jumping off of the pages. The Bible talks about they will call evil good and good evil. And a lot of times in the conversations, even down to when it comes to purity and abstinence, oftentimes now, that's looked at as a taboo or looked at as something that is not honorable, right? And so a lot of times individuals who've made that decision to say, God, I want to remain pure. I want to, honor you with my relationships and my friendships. A lot of times those individuals are either shunned or made to feel ashamed because they've said that they've waited. Talk a little bit from a perspective of a young lady who has the desire to please God, and how you navigate with your peers as it relates to that topic.
Okay, so I keep having problems with the mic. So I remember before, back in elementary, middle school, going into my middle school years, um, as growing up, it was always Lakai Leko Leglis, translation, school Lakai home, Leglis is church, and Lekol is school. So that's all I knew growing up. So if I'm not at home, I'm at school. If I'm not at school, I'm at church. So I remember, and back in the day, back in the day, why am I, I'm saying back in the day like I'm old, but back in the day, I remember, I'm sorry. I always used to go to church, and I would go to church, but my mind wouldn't be there, like mentally. I would just go there just to go. I didn't really understand the connection between me and God. I used to think, oh, we're just going there just to spend the time on Sunday because we have nothing to do on Sundays. But as time progressed, I started, because I used to hop to a lot of churches. So it was this one church that I went to, and all the other ones I went to, they wasn't really focused. They were focused on God, but they were focused on the wrong things with offering. They put their main focus on that, and that was really a turn off with my relationship with God. So I used to think, oh, it's all about the money, but that one church was different, and it made me grow my connection with God. The services, I was so in tune. I used to come, me before, I used to sit in the back. I didn't want nothing to do anything. But then that church, I used to come sit in the front. I used to say, let's go early, let's go early. I did not want to miss anything of it. And that, I feel like that changed me as a person. That helped me grow spiritually, mentally with God. And like, I won't say that my relationship is God with God is perfect right now, but I'm still working on it. I feel like we have to progress, and I'm progressing on that right now. Branches helps me with, we have this field trip called Oasis, and we would go there to grow our relationship with God more and more. And we would, I feel like it's a, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my words together.
Hmm.
Um, make me a little bit emotional, because I feel myself being on the wrong path in those middle school years, going to high school. I felt like I was, once I started talking with God more, reading the scripture, all of those good things, I felt a sense of getting back on the right track. I felt me finding myself over again, starting my life over and becoming a new person inside. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And a part of that is, even when you made mention about, you felt yourself getting emotional, when you just think about the goodness of the Lord and, you know, how he keeps us, it really transcends age, and you talked about, being a part of Branches, this organization that also, um, not only is responsible for your personal development, and scholastic development, but also spiritually, that they are actually providing venues and opportunities for you all to be a part of something such as the Oasis. I think that speaks volumes because a lot of times it's about exposure. A lot of times when you see young people, who are migrating to certain things, be it, seduction, or provocative clothing and dress, or, certain types of music, a lot of times it's about exposure. What have they been around? Who have they been around? And so talk a little bit, Leon's, about, just the culture today, and just some of the vices that your peers have picked up. Talk a little bit about the impact that you feel like this culture has on young people today.
The impact that this culture has on young people today. What amazing question. Whew, the impact that this culture has on young people today. Um, okay, I will touch on musically. And we know that the enemy uses all forms of devices to, get to the young generation. I would say, growing up, I don't know, I never really liked circular music too much. Like I would vibe with it at one point. Like when I was younger, I used to listen to Rod Wave and so on and so forth. But over time, as I grew with Christ, I got to the understanding that, subconsciously, those things can begin to influence your behavior and your actions and things like that. And I feel like when it comes to certain things within our culture, we're kind of blinded to it. We don't see how the ending effects of it and how it can put us in a place in which we never thought we would end up being. But it's like we're giving the enemy an open door to say, hey, bet, do this to me, do that to me, and I don't care. I'm allowing you to do this. I'm giving you permission. And there's just a lot of things, like, and even the sense of it being a trend at times. We find ourselves doing things that are literally, going against the will of the Father, doing things that are glorifying the enemy, and we may not even understand it in hindsight. But I feel like this is the strategic plans of the enemy within these things. Whether it be through music, whether it be through clothing, whether it be through the shows that we watch. Like there's open doors in all directions and all areas that we don't even realize, don't even notice. But if you're not spiritually mature, then of course you miss these things, and you allow the enemy to have some form of a foothold, a stronghold rather, over your life. If that makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. You want to echo Esther as far as the impact on your culture, on the culture has on your peers?
I feel like the biggest impact right now, what Leon said was a really good point, and I also to contribute to what he said. I feel like social media itself is a platform. That's where the devil itself has freedom over there. Social media, I feel like this generation, they're easily persuaded. What they see on social media, they're like, oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do that. Oh, if I'm not a certain way, this isn't going to be good. So I feel like we don't have enough platform of Christianity on social media, and we need more, not more people, but we just need more of a Christianity platform on social media to overturn the darkness and stuff like that. Because I feel like as the days progress, the teenagers are slowly losing themselves. Because I remember a time, like I'm speaking from experience, because I remember a time once quarantine started, we wasn't able to go to church, and they didn't have like a platform to set up church online. So I remember myself always going on social media and slowly losing myself, going back to the old music I listened to. And I feel like that's not only what I go through, but I feel like other teenagers are going through that, but they didn't have the same possibility as me gaining myself back into the right path. And I feel like a lot of them are struggling right now. And I feel like social media is a big impact. Yes.
Definitely, definitely it is. And I love hearing you say, I feel like more Christian platforms need to be in the mix, because we understand that the airwaves is the prince of darkness, right? We understand that he is going to impact through that venue, through the airwaves, but we also understand that God is going to always have a remnant. And I think it's so important that we get in position. I think a lot of times things are happening in our churches, things are happening abroad because we are not in position. I think that we've had one foot in and one foot out, and we have not really focused in on just the urgency of the hour. It's not just enough, and we were talking before the show, it's not just enough for us to get it. Do we really have a heart for others as well, to be introduced to the good news and be introduced to being able to have their own personal, intimate relationship with the Lord? And so as we begin to wrap up the show, I want to close out with you all sharing your address to now, specifically to the young people. Why should they tune in to ABL Teen Talk Generation now? It's important for them to incorporate now this vehicle in what they watch and what they look forward to see air the show. And so I'm going to start with you, Esther, with your address, and we're going to close out with Leon.
Okay, I heard most of it because I don't know if it was on my end that you were cutting out, but I heard most of it. I feel like ABL will be a good platform for all our teenagers to watch and stay in tune to, because like you said before, I um we're the new co-host, and I feel like them watching us on the ABL show, I feel like will have an impact on them because they'll see, oh wow, she's a teenager. I know her from school. Let me watch and see what she's gonna say, and we can have an impact on those teens that's watching us currently. And I feel like what we say will go a long way. They'll see that, oh, someone as the same age as me is going through the same thing that I'm going through. Maybe I should listen. Maybe I should do what she's telling us to do and grow a stronger relationship with Christ himself. And I think I'm gonna pass it on to Leon's.
Awesome.
Amen. Yeah, what Esther touched on was quite amazing. I agree with it 100%. Within this entire program, with us being the co-hosts, you're gonna see a lot of transparency and relatability. And you guys have to understand that, we're on the same age group. We go through the same issues, the same problems, we endure the same things, and the enemy attacks us in similar ways. And so we have to begin to understand, as we begin to touch on different topics on this amazing talk show, understand that we're not just talking about things that we just look up online, but things that we all go through on a day-to-day basis. Not things we just research, but things that we all literally just endure and go through. And I truly believe that as we begin to speak through, as we begin to learn from each other, we'll begin to grow with one another. We'll begin to find ourselves more and more within Christ. And I feel like this is extremely important for you guys to tap in, because you're really, 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 really going to hear some amazing things. And we're all going to grow and break chains and break generational curses and be free, free, free indeed. Amen.
Amen, amen, amen. I love it. Well, guess what? You have just heard from the two co-hosts of ABL Teen Talk, Generation Now. And so why is this show important? Well, you've heard it from the co-hosts themselves that this image that he gives us is not to be placed up under something that's not supposed to be seen. It is actually supposed to be placed up on the hill. It's actually supposed to be this light that draws this lighthouse that where no matter how much darkness is around, you can always see that lighthouse. And so I'm excited for what is about to take place as we premiere tonight, ABL Teen Talk Generation Now. And so a part of this is we want to make sure that you're tuning in. This will be a monthly show starting off, and we're going to see, how the Lord leads as it relates to the showings. They both are seniors getting ready to go off to college. And so just the fact that, they are studious, they're a student on the student honor roll, they're doing their thing, but they also most importantly love the Lord, and they want to be able to live out loud and be a billboard for him to let you all as young people know that it can be done. So I'm so grateful for Leon's and Esther joining the ABL family and now taking on the co-host position. And so as we close out, to all of those, let them know again, Leonce and Esther, your generation what?
Now.
Let's go. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you for having me. See.
We thank you for being ABL's newest co-host. And so we're gonna close out with until we
I'm
see you
living
again.
a beautiful